Matt Aguilar here from ComicBook.com. Today I have the esteemed pleasure of speaking to TNA Star Dani Luna. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know your schedules are always crazy busy, but always appreciated.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a big year. This is, you know, TNA first Impact and then becoming TNA, and then now that we're kind of officially underway, have a few kind of pay-per-views and events under the belt. It's an exciting time in TNA. You've made a big impact, no pun intended there,
Nice.
already being in the company. I really didn't mean that, by the way. You've made such a, but you're already competing with some of the company's biggest stars. You've been in the ring with them, holding your own. What's been for you the kind of biggest takeaway from the launch of TNA and kind of this new era? Because it's not something you get to see very often of number one, something that was beloved being brought back, but also to being this hot, being having kind of the energy of the industry in a big way.
Yeah, it's incredible. I feel so privileged to be a part of it. Obviously I'd done a little bit with Impact last year, and to be kind of signed and brought in right as the TNA rebrand happened was so exciting for me. Obviously I got to be the opening match on the first TNA pay-per-view in like 8 years, so that was awesome. It was just great. It felt like a lot of trust was put into me. And it felt like I was really lucky to be a part of such a good group as we all kind of show everybody what TNA really is and what it's all about, and kind of put it on a stage where people can see it and people can believe in us. I think that's awesome.
There's obviously a lot of trust there. You don't get in the ring with the now knockouts champion, without there being that. And also, it was just, I feel like such a showcase for you because that thing could have gone either way. And number one, you came close, right? That was it was really close. So now that the title's involved, number one, what did that being on that kind of platform and that kind of moment mean? But also, what did you take away most from it? Because, I don't know, rematch comes down the line here and feel like, you're right there.
Well, you'd hope. Yeah, it was such a crazy experience because obviously it was the pay-per-view was in the UK as well, so we were kind of on my turf. Like I couldn't
Right.
really imagine that match happening, let alone in my country, in the crowds that I wrestle for every weekend. Um, that was such a privilege. And getting to get in there with Jordan, who's just such a pro, and I think such an example of what all of the knockouts can be and the levels that we can rise to. And to, get in there with her and mix it up with her. And like you said, hold my own, get pretty close. Um, it definitely gave me so much more confidence as a wrestler and as someone. Like I felt after that match that I could belong in this locker room. At the time I wasn't signed. It was very much just let's see what she can do with this. And I really feel like it brought the best out of me. And I think anytime I wrestle Jordan, she will bring the best out of me. And I would really like to do it again for the belt. Um, I think she's leveled up so much, even in that short time. But I feel like I have too. So I'd love to revisit it and see if we could make a little bit of a different conclusion, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like both of you have, come so far, even in that just short amount of time since then. Um, and also, man, those titles are gorgeous, right?
Oh, beautiful. My God. Stunning.
And, it was hard to kill, went off, got such a great reaction from the fans, killer pay-per-view. But then also you were in an Ultimate X match with a stacked talent of knockouts. What was one, have you, Ultimate X is so unique unto itself. It's such a special, it's already kind of has its own reputation of the match anyway. But what did it mean to be on that platform? It's hard to kill. You're making a big splash as TNA on top of an Ultimate X match, on top of, still being relatively new to the company, right? Was that a pretty surreal moment for you?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot going on. Um, getting to be the opening match on that pay-per-view was so special, and to do it with so many talented women was incredible. But the Ultimate X is terrifying, and I cannot tell you how scary it is. Um, and I feel like everyone, I spoke to Mark Andrews beforehand because he'd done a couple back when he was in TNA, and he just couldn't stop telling me how high it was. He was like, Danny, yeah, it'll be great, but it's really high. I was like, okay, you're not helping. You're not helping with my confidence here. But he was right. It's really high, and so scary. But like you said, there's so many things you can do with that match. It's so unique. Like when you take into account all the competitors in it too. Like there's so many ways it could go. And I feel like I really held my own in there. I really gave everyone and all these new people that had never really seen me before an example of what Dani Luna is and what she can do. So I'm really proud of that match, and I'm proud of everybody in that match, and I think we killed it.
Yeah, no, I think it was and that was the opener.
Yeah.
It was like, what a hell of a way to start the night, you know. I know in our team Slack we were all kind of losing our minds a little bit, raving about it. I think it was a great showcase for the talent in the knockouts division. Just as a by itself, let alone
Mm-hmm.
Ultimate X and throwing all that chaos in there. And Jody Threat was in, that match with you as one of the many stars in there. And it's been interesting. You've been on the other side of the ring with her, and then you guys kind of teamed up. And, she's such a unique, like, ball of energy when she hits the ring. What has that partnership been like? And is that something you are looking forward to doing more of? Or are you kind of more focused on singles? What are you looking at for the outlook?
No, absolutely. I think Jody Threat is one of the most naturally talented wrestlers I've ever met. Like she got into it quite late, and she just took to it so incredibly. Like when I first met her, maybe 3, 4 years ago now, she came over to the UK, and she'd only been wrestling about a year, and she was better than everybody. And I couldn't believe it. Like she just took to it so well. It's because she's got that insane energy. No matter what she
Yeah.
does, she just throws herself into everything. Um, and I just think she's so incredible. And I think together we can really kind of make something special. And like we get along really well, really good friends. So I talk to her a lot about stuff anyway. So it's really easy for us to kind of join forces, and we have a lot of the same morals and a lot of the same beliefs. And I think that's where the best tag teams happen. I think they're people that stand for the same things and want the same things. And honestly, like if me and Jody can keep this ball rolling, I don't see why we can't be knockout tag team champions this year. I think that's our goal for this year. We want to be a sick tag team that everybody wants to wrestle and everybody wants to bring in. And we want to inspire other women to be tag teams because it's not a very done thing. Um, and I don't really know why, but I think if we can show a good example of what it can be and how sick it can be, I think that could really inspire lots of other women to do it. And I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you guys make a formidable team. You already had a face down with the, former champs as well. So, I mean, now I feel like the fun part is, or maybe it's the most difficult part, I'm not sure, of creating a name because there always seem to be so many great ideas and combinations you guys can go with. But I'm looking forward to the tag team future for you guys because I think you guys make a great team. And that kind of leads into the next question, right? Because Rebellion's on the way. It's always there's always like fun surprises and it's always a big event. But then of course there's Bound for Glory, there's Slammiversary. There's a lot of kind of benchmarks throughout the year. And for you, what do you want to, I guess, what do you see as that? And it might very well be the tag team division and joining up with Jody. But what do you see that next step for you, that kind of next critical important step for you kind of in your TNA journey and, ending 2024, this is where you want to be type thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now it does revolve around the tag team. I think we both have a lot of aspirations within TNA. And I think right now, obviously, it's such a stacked knockouts division. And I think it's really important that we kind of play our cards right. And with me and Jody, obviously, we're kind of on the same wavelength all the time anyway. That I think if we can kind of put our heads together, we have so much more of a chance of, you know, getting noticed and getting those opportunities. And I think once we have one of those opportunities, we will just run with it. And she's really fast, so she'll run really fast, and I'll be slightly behind, but we will be running with it. And I think from there, once we have that opportunity, once we have more eyes on us, it's just a case of watching it unfold and watching us kind of climb that ladder until we are considered, you know, one of the best tag teams here in TNA, and hopefully one of the best tag teams in the US and Canada as a whole. And I someone I'd rather do it with. I think it's the best thing I could possibly be doing right now.
No, that's awesome. It's always like you said, it's those make the best teams. It's there's a I don't know, there's an aura of not just authenticity, but like genuine you know, it's like rare when you actually see a tag team like be a tag team when they've learned kind of the, you know, ins and outs of each other's patterns and move sets and they really are just kind of focused on being a team. When you see it, it's like, oh man, that's magic. You want that to happen all the time, you know? So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. TNA has me excited for several reasons. Number one, I've been on this thing of like I wanted action figures for I don't know how long. It's clear from behind me that like I'm in the action
Oh, no way.
so I know I kind of wear that on my sleeve a little bit. So, you know, I've been on this and I was excited for, you know, TNA to partner with Powertown and we're going to get some figures. Jordan's in that mix, right? Moose. It's a great first lineup. But looking ahead, you know, when that Dani Luna figure makes it into the roster, number one, what will that moment be like for you? And two, what's the gear we're wanting it based on? What's the
Mm,
accessory? Like what is that package for you?
these are very important questions. It would be insane to have an action figure, actually. Um, I remember when I got my first trading card, that was wild. Like it
Yeah.
just makes you feel like a real wrestler. There's a physical, you know, embodiment of you, and I think that's so cool. And it's definitely like a goal of mine to have an action figure. I think that would be awesome. I think the most important part we get right is the hair. I feel like if they mess the
Yes.
hair up, it's all downhill from there. Um, Very important, and also my giant shoulders are very important. I don't care what she's wearing, but as long as she's jacked and has really green hair, we'll be
Awesome.
fine.
No, that's perfect. Exactly though. It's got to be the green. It's gotta be there. You can't.
Got
There
to
are
be
some
bright.
things in a figure you can't miss. That's one of
Yeah.
them. You can't miss it. And then the other thing I've been harping on forever. Ross probably gets tired of hearing me talk about this. I've been wanting a video game forever, right? It's been so long since we've had a video game, and now it's just like, you know, all the momentum and
Yeah, go on.
you know,
Get
killer
us a
roster. It
game.
feels like the perfect time, right? So is that, you know, it always feels like you kind of mentioned there's this thing about like seeing yourself in an action figure and also seeing yourself in a video game, and it's one of the things that like this profession kind of like that it crosses over in that space and not a lot of
Mhm.
spaces do, right? So what will that moment be like for you when you see yourself in a video game for the first time, and also when that video game happens, I'm putting it into the universe for that to happen. What do you want in a wrestling game? Do you kind of like the more arcadey stuff? Do you like the more sim stuff? Like, what is that for you?
Interesting. Um, I think number one, it would be insane to be in a game. I feel like that's the sort of stuff where, you know, like your parents think you're famous if you're in a video game, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
my parents don't really watch wrestling, so they don't really understand most of the time. But you know, I give them a trading card, and they're like, "Oh, you must be important." Um, so I think that goes along that line. I can show that to the people that don't watch wrestling, and they go, "Wow, you must be a really famous wrestler." Um, but it would be awesome. I think I always preferred like the original SmackDown versus Raws. I always really enjoyed where they have like a bit more of a story to them rather
Right.
than just fight. Um, I always enjoyed those, but I loved all the ones where you could be the GM and you could do the whole storylines too. I thought they were sick. So that's what I do, and I'd immediately make myself the champion.
Well, of course.
What else do you do?
Yeah. And what other video game you gonna find the Ultimate X match in? None.
Yeah.
They ain't happening outside of this. And then I know I gotta let you go. Thank you so much for the time. One last one here. You know, we've seen so many wrestling is so full of legendary entrances and themes. What's your favorite wrestling entrance of all time?
Song.
It can be the whole entrance or just the theme,
Mm,
whichever.
okay. Um, okay. Wolfpack is up there. Great one.
Yes.
Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack. Sick. Billy Kidman had a great theme as well. Oh,
Oh
what
my
was it
God.
called? I can't remember, but it's on my Spotify. Um, his was awesome. Definitely one of them. Or Triple H, My Time is one of the best Triple H entrance theme.
Amazing. You were really speaking to my WCW love
Oh,
there.
my life, bro.
Yes. Oh my God, amazing. Well, I all the best success on what's to come. I can't wait to see what else you do this year. And of course, you can catch all of our coverage on everything TNA right here on comicbook.com. Danny, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.